Okay, now look at the choices we have for our client. In this particular case, Coke has, and these are the same numbers from the previous video, Coke has expected return of 13.26%, standard deviation of 16.82, Home Depot 6 and 26. I've graphed that. Risk or volatility is on the x-axis, return is on the y-axis. I clearly prefer Coke because it's going to give me more return for less risk. So why would I ever consider having Home Depot in my portfolio? Well, it's going to have to do with this correlation number because it's going to give me potentially some diversification benefit. So let me draw this line. If these two stocks were perfectly correlated, if their correlation was 1, I would have no diversification benefit at all. That means my possible portfolios would be on this red line. And if we could eyeball this somewhere around in, I don't know, probably right about here, it would be 50% Coke and 50% Home Depot. So right here here's 100% Coke, 90% Coke, whatever. And the way we have the calculation for this, remember the return on our portfolio is equal to the amount we put in Coke times the return on Coke plus the weight in Home Depot times the return on Home Depot. And the risk is going to be the risk of the portfolio, and I'm going to square this for the variance, and then you could just take the square root to get the actual number later, is the weight of Coke squared the variance of Coke plus the weight of Home Depot squared times the variance of Home Depot, or the risk of Home Depot, plus 2 times their weights, Coke, Home Depot, times the covariance of Home Depot and Coke. And I know that the covariance of Home Depot and Coke is equal to the correlation of Home Depot and Coke times the two volatilities. So that's how I learned to draw this graph. If I just change these weights from 100% Coke, 0 Home Depot, all the way changing them, steps at a time, to 100% Home Depot, 0 Coke, I'll draw this line by using these figures over here. If correlation is equal to 1. If the correlation was equal to -1, this is not going to be perfectly drawn, I'm just eyeballing it, it would be something like this. So if correlation were -1, I could completely eliminate risk with the appropriate weights. So I'd figure out what that weight is, I could eliminate those two. However, we're somewhere in between. Our correlation is 0.5794. So what happens is we're going to have something that looks something like that. And let me show you the precise drawing from Excel. Okay, so now here it is drawn out in Excel. Let me show you what we have. We had a return of Coke of 13.26%. So that would be somewhere around in here. So this would be something close to 100% in Coke. And then the return on Home Depot was 6.1. So the return on Home Depot is something like that. So if we would be somewhere along this line. This will allow us to be somewhere between 100% Coke all the way down and 0 Home Depot all the way down to 0% Coke and 100% Home Depot. So maybe that's the possibilities we have just right there. However, if we're able to short assets, and we'll talk about shorting later, then we can be more than 100% Coke. We could be something like 150% Coke and minus 50% Home Depot, and we would be, we put this into a different color, we would be somewhere along the green portion of the curve. Alright, so let me give you one other thing here. Hang on just a second. Okay, so look at this picture right here. Would you ever want to be completely invested in Home Depot? And the answer to that is no, because when you're in Home Depot, you would have this 6.1% return with whatever this level of risk. You could be in this combination up here, have the same risk but higher return. So that might be, you know, minus 70% Home Depot and 170% Coke. Not sure what the exact numbers are. That's something we need to figure out. So your client's going to come to you and say, look, I want a risk level of 0.2. We've determined he wants to be risk level 0.2. That's his volatility. You could put them right there. You could put them right there. Where would you think the client wants to be? The client wants to be at the higher portion. So the efficient frontier is going to be where we will invest, and that's going to stop somewhere along in here, and we'll call this the minimum variance portfolio. So at this point we can have a client come in. The client can say to us, I want a return of, pick a number, 17%. Okay, client, you want a return of 17%? That puts you right here. That will give you this level of risk and this weight in Coke and this weight in Home Depot. Or a client could come in and say, you know what, I want to have this level of risk. And we say, okay, if you want that level of risk, that puts you right here. So you want this level of risk, it'll give you this return, and you have this weight in Coke and this weight in Home Depot. So that's where we're going. It's going to take us a long time to get there. For now, this is what I want you to do. I want you to be able to calculate the return, the arithmetic return, the geometric return, the standard deviation of some asset, so call it stock, standard deviation of stock X, the covariance of X and Y, the correlation of X and Y, and then we're going to start learning how to put the two stocks together and actually do the math behind this. But I just wanted you to have an idea of the picture that we're trying to draw. Hopefully you remember some of this from your 8000 class.